Hey everyone, today we're going to do something a little different. We're taking a trip to the very near future, looking back from the year 2026 to figure out how we solved one of the biggest challenges of our time, the very real threat of, well, losing truth altogether.
This was the question, right? The one that was on everyone's mind. By 2026, generative AI could spit out synthetic media that was so flawless, so perfect, you just couldn't trust your own eyes and ears anymore. So, what did we do about it?
Well, we built a system, a really comprehensive, multi-layered defense to stop the truth from just dissolving. And in this explainer, we're going to unpack the three big pillars that hold that whole thing together.
But before we get to the solutions, we have to really wrap our heads around the sheer scale of the problem we were all facing just a few short years ago. I mean, the challenge was just immense. You had hyper-realistic audio and video that no normal person could ever hope to detect. And this wasn't about funny memes anymore. This was a direct threat to your privacy, to national security, and to the very idea of a shared reality. It became obvious really fast that just making this stuff illegal wasn't going to cut it. We needed something way bigger.
So where do you start? Well, the first layer of that defense had to be legal. We needed new rules, and this time with some real teeth, to hold people accountable for what they created and spread.
And this right here was the fundamental shift, especially in the United States. Instead of just relying on police and prosecutors who were totally overwhelmed, the new strategy was to empower the victims themselves. It gave them the power to fight back directly, in civil court. Now, what's really interesting here is how targeted this whole approach was. It wasn't one giant, messy law. It was a suite of very specific ones. The Defiance Act? Boom. It gave victims of sexual deepfakes the right to sue. The Take It Down Act? It forced platforms to pull that content down within 48 hours. And the No Fakes Act created a federal property right in your own voice and likeness. Each law had a very specific job to do. And to give these laws those teeth I was talking about, they came with some serious financial consequences. Under the Defiance Act, for example, the minimum damages were $150,000 per violation. A number that big gets everyone's attention, from the person who made the fake to the platform that hosted it. And this kind of highlights the two major philosophies that popped up around the world. While the US was really focused on empowering victims to react after harm was done, the European Union went a different route. They took a more proactive, risk-based approach, forcing AI companies to be transparent from the very beginning. But laws on their own are just words on paper. To actually make them work, they needed a technological backbone. And this is where the engineers came in, building that crucial second layer of our defense. The core concept here is something called durable provenance. The easiest way to think about it is like a permanent, unforgeable digital birth certificate for every photo, video, and audio file. A birth certificate that follows it everywhere it goes online, no matter what.
And the standard that actually made this a reality is called C2PA, or Content Credentials. It's actually a pretty simple four-step process. First, your phone or camera captures an image and right away records its origin. Then, it cryptographically signs and attaches a manifest with all those details. Every single edit you make after that gets added to the manifest. The result? Anyone, anywhere, can just inspect the credentials and see the content's entire life story from start to finish.
Okay, but what about content that doesn't have credentials? Well, two main detection methods emerged. The first one, physiological forensics, is incredible. It actually looks for biological signals that AI is terrible at faking, like the subtle pulse of blood flow under our skin. It's slow, but it's for deep, serious verification. For real-time stuff like content moderation, platforms use what's called multimodal scoring, which just rapidly scans everything, video, audio, metadata, looking for any little inconsistencies that give away the fake. So we've got the laws and we've got the tech. But how did all of this actually change daily life for people? Professionals, students, artists. This became the third and maybe most critical layer: new social and ethical norms. In the academic world, the big debate shifted away from just banning AI to demanding disclosure. All the top universities pretty much landed on the same idea. Sure, you can use AI as a tool to help you brainstorm or edit, but you absolutely have to cite it, just like you'd cite any other book or paper. And this quote from the Committee on Publication Ethics just hits the nail on the head. It perfectly explains the why. An AI can't be an author because it can't be held accountable. In the end, responsibility has to stay with a human.
Over in the creative world, the new gold standard became something called informed consent. And we're not talking about some vague clause buried in page 40 of a contract. This meant a clear, specific description telling a performer exactly how their digital twin was going to be used, which stopped studios from just grabbing those rights for any crazy thing they might dream up in the future. And you better believe the creative unions fought for and won some huge protections. Now, using a digital replica of an actor costs the same as just hiring the actual actor. And if a performer's data is used to train an AI model, they get paid for it through something called residual data royalties.
Okay, so let's zoom back out. What does this all add up to? After all these changes, what is the new reality we actually built for ourselves?
The biggest lesson was that there was no single silver bullet, no magic button we could press. The solution was the system itself, this deep integration of legal enforcement, technological verification, and new ethical rules, all working together, all supporting each other. And this really visualizes that critical balance. It's like a three-legged stool. You absolutely need the legal shield to create consequences. You need the tech toolkit to make verification possible, and you need the ethical norms to guide how people actually behave. You take any one of those legs away, and the whole thing just falls apart. Which, of course, leaves us with the final and maybe the most important question of all. We did it. We built this incredible system to prove what's real and what isn't. But proving something is true and getting an entire society to actually believe it, well, turns out those are two very different things. And that, right there, remains the biggest challenge for the years ahead.